In 2026, there are still places on this planet we understand less than the surface of Mars. Jungles no human has ever fully mapped. Ocean trenches darker and more pressurized than space. And sounds, recorded, real, undeniable, that scientists argued over for years. Today, we're going through 5 of Earth's strangest unsolved mysteries. Some are creatures, some are places. One might be the loudest sound ever picked up on this planet, and nobody agreed on what made it. Let's get into it. We're starting deep in the Congo Basin, in one of the last truly unmapped regions on Earth. For over a century, local communities near the Likuala swamps have described a massive animal living in the rivers and waterways. Something the size of an elephant, with a long neck, a small head, and a thick tail. They call it Mokele-Mbembe, which roughly translates to one who stops the flow of rivers. Western explorers first wrote about it in the 1700s, describing tracks and disturbances no known animal could explain. Multiple expeditions have gone looking, including ones backed by actual scientists and universities. None have come back with hard proof, but none have fully ruled it out either. Here's the thing that keeps this one alive. The Congo Basin rainforest is roughly the size of Western Europe, and large parts of it have never been surveyed by outside researchers at all. New species are still being discovered there every single year. So is it a myth passed down for centuries? Or is there still something moving through those rivers that science hasn't caught up to yet? From the jungle, we're heading to the coldest, deepest lake on the planet. This one might look familiar if you caught our short, but there's a lot more to it. Lake Baikal in Siberia is over 25 million years old, making it the oldest lake on Earth, and it's so deep it holds more fresh water than all 5 Great Lakes combined. For generations, people living along its shores have described a creature beneath the surface called Lusud-Khan, Lord of the Lake. Witnesses describe something dark, massive, and fast, sometimes 15 to 20 feet long, surfacing just long enough to vanish again. What makes Baikal different from most lake monster stories is the lake itself. Its deepest trenches drop over a mile down into near-freezing, pitch-black water that very few submersibles have ever explored, and the parts we have explored have turned up species that exist nowhere else on Earth. Fish, sponges, and crustaceans found in 0 other bodies of water on the planet. When a lake is still producing brand new science a century after we started studying it, there's nothing left to find down there is a hard claim to make. Now we're leaving land completely. In 1997, hydrophones, underwater microphones used by the US government to monitor the ocean, picked up an extremely loud, extremely low-frequency sound from somewhere in the Pacific. It became known as the Bloop. The sound was so powerful, it was detected by sensors over 3,000 miles apart, and for years it was louder than any known animal on Earth could produce. Louder than a blue whale, the loudest creature we know of. For over a decade, this sound had no confirmed explanation, and that gap got filled with theories ranging from undiscovered marine life to, yes, things people compared to deep-sea creatures out of fiction. Eventually, NOAA scientists linked the sound's acoustic profile to ice, specifically large Antarctic ice shelves cracking and fracturing underwater, known as icequakes. Mystery solved, officially. But here's what doesn't get mentioned as often. That explanation came nearly 15 years after the sound was recorded, using techniques and comparison data that didn't exist in 1997. Which raises an uncomfortable question. How many other deep ocean sounds are sitting in archives right now, recorded but never matched to anything, simply because nobody's built the comparison data yet? We've mapped more of the surface of the moon than we have of our own ocean floor. Back on land now, to a hole in the ground in Turkmenistan that's been on fire for over 50 years. It's called the Darvaza gas crater, but most people know it by its nickname, the Door to Hell. In 1971, Soviet geologists were drilling for natural gas, and the ground beneath their rig collapsed into a massive crater, releasing huge amounts of methane gas into the air. To prevent the gas from poisoning the surrounding area, engineers made a decision that probably sounded reasonable at the time. Light it on fire. They expected it to burn out in a few weeks. That was over 50 years ago, and it's still burning today, non-stop, visible from miles away in the middle of the desert at night. Scientists still aren't entirely sure how much gas remains beneath it, or how long it could keep going. Some attempts have been made in recent years to finally seal it. So far, none have worked. And for our last stop, we're going back in time to June 30th, 1908, in a remote part of Siberia. Without warning, an explosion ripped through the sky over the Tunguska River with the force of roughly 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. It flattened an estimated 80 million trees across more than 800 square miles, knocked people off their feet dozens of miles away, and was felt as far as the United Kingdom. Here's the part that still bothers scientists. There is no crater. When something explodes that violently, you expect an impact site. There isn't one. The leading theory is that a meteor or comet fragment exploded in the atmosphere before ever reaching the ground. What's called an airburst. It's a solid explanation, but the lack of any definitive physical evidence has kept the door open for over 100 years of competing theories, some scientific, some far less so. To this day, it remains the largest impact event in recorded human history, and we still don't have all the answers. 5 mysteries, a jungle giant nobody's caught, a lake monster guarding the deepest water on Earth, a sound louder than anything we knew existed, a fire that won't go out, and an explosion with no crater. The truth is, we've explored more of outer space than we have our own oceans and rainforests. This planet is still hiding things from us. And that's exactly why this channel exists. If you want more of Earth's unexplained corners, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.